Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to be exploring the body's ultimate delivery network, the human circulatory system. If you're looking for a really clear, straightforward breakdown for your GCSE revision, well, you are exactly in the right place. We're going to logically unpack the heart, the blood, the vessels, and crucially, what happens when things go wrong. Right. Just pause and think about this for a second. How does a single muscular pump, sitting right there in your chest, supply oxygen and nutrients to every single cell in your body without ever taking a break? From your brain all the way down to your toes, is just an absolute non-stop engineering marvel. I mean, it's literally doing it right now while you watch this. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the double circulatory system. So, humans have what we call a double circulatory system. This simply means that blood passes through the heart twice on each full journey around the body. It works in two separate loops. First, the pulmonary circuit takes deoxygenated blood over to the lungs to pick up oxygen. Then, the systemic circuit pumps that freshly oxygenated blood out to respiring cells across the entire body. It's highly efficient, and importantly, it prevents the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood from mixing. Moving right along to Section 2, inside the human heart. Let's zoom in on the main event. The heart is basically a massive muscle, and it's divided into four main chambers. You've got two atria at the top and two ventricles at the bottom. Now, because the heart is highly active cardiac tissue, it actually needs its own continuous oxygen supply to keep working. It gets this from the coronary arteries, which branch directly off the aorta to feed the heart muscle itself. Let's take a quick tour and follow a single drop of blood, shall we? Deoxygenated blood flows through the vena cava into the right atrium, then down to the right ventricle, which pumps it via the pulmonary artery over to the lungs. Once it's got oxygen, it returns via the pulmonary vein to the left atrium, drops down to the left ventricle, and then boom, it is powerfully shot out through the aorta to the rest of the body. And along the way, special valves make sure the blood only ever flows forward. You might notice a visible difference in the muscle thickness here. The right ventricle only has to pump blood a short distance to the nearby lungs. But the left ventricle, it has a significantly thicker, much beefier wall. That's because it needs massive mechanical force to push blood around the entire systemic circuit, literally fighting gravity all the way down and back up. All right, Section 3, blood vessels. We've got the pump, now let's look at the pipes. We have three main types of blood vessels. First up, arteries. A great trick to remember is arteries carry blood away from the heart. Because they operate under really high pressure, they have these thick walls made of smooth muscle and elastic fibers. Veins, on the other hand, carry lower pressure blood back into the heart, so their walls are thinner, but they contain absolutely crucial internal valves to prevent the blood from flowing backward. The third type is the capillaries. Think of these as tiny, local delivery alleys. They weave right through your tissues, directly surrounding your cells. And their walls are incredibly thin, literally just one single cell thick. This super short diffusion distance is exactly what allows oxygen and glucose to rapidly diffuse into your cells, and waste products to easily diffuse out. Which brings us to Section 4, blood, the delivery fluid. Now, what's really interesting about this is when you look at blood, you usually just see red, but over half of its actual volume is a clear, straw-colored liquid called plasma. Red blood cells make up a bit less than half, and then a really tiny fraction, less than 1%, is made up of white blood cells and platelets. Let's break those down. Red blood cells are genuine structural masterpieces. They are packed full of hemoglobin, shaped like little biconcave discs to increase surface area, and they actually ditch their nucleus just so they can carry more oxygen. Pretty wild, right? White blood cells protect us by fighting off infections, often by engulfing pathogens. Platelets are what trigger blood clotting when you get a cut. And that plasma we mentioned, it transports dissolved carbon dioxide, urea, hormones, and all your digested food. Let's move on to Section 5, troubleshooting. What happens when things go wrong? Specifically, coronary heart disease. So we mentioned the coronary arteries earlier, the ones feeding the heart muscle itself. Coronary heart disease, or CHD, happens when a diet high in saturated fat and cholesterol causes layers of fatty material, called plaque, to build up inside these specific arteries. This buildup narrows the inside of the tube, the lumen, and restricts blood flow. This effectively starves the cardiac muscle of the oxygen it desperately needs. A partial blockage can cause chest pain, known as angina, while a complete block leads to a heart attack. And this brilliantly illustrates the problem. Contrast a healthy, wide-open artery with normal blood flow against one where yellow plaque has dangerously constricted the vessel. You can see how the blood genuinely struggles to get through, creating a really stark visual of why maintaining your heart health is absolutely critical. So, how do we fix it? Section 6, Fixing a Broken Heart. To physically fix a blocked artery, doctors often use a stent. It's a really clever bit of plumbing. A narrow tube is threaded in, and a tiny balloon inflates to push a little metal mesh against the artery wall, squashing the fatty plaque out of the way. The balloon is then deflated and removed, but the mesh stays there permanently, holding the vessel open and restoring healthy blood flow. Now here's a crucial GCSE exam tip for you. Always be prepared to evaluate different treatments. Stents are highly effective immediately and involve relatively minor surgery, but they do carry a slight risk of blood clots. The alternative approach is using statins. These are daily pills that reduce cholesterol in the liver and slow down that fatty buildup. They don't require surgery, but they do require a lifelong commitment to taking them, and they can sometimes cause side effects like muscle pain. Another mechanical issue you can run into is faulty heart valves. If the valves start to leak or become stiff, the blood just doesn't pump efficiently. These can be replaced with biological valves, often taken from pigs or cows, which work incredibly well but usually need replacing every 12 to 15 years. Or you can opt for mechanical valves. These are extremely long-lasting, basically permanent, but the trade-off is that patients have to take anti-clotting medication for the rest of their lives. Finally, in cases of complete heart failure, the ultimate intervention is a heart transplant. Real biological hearts from human donors are by far the best option, but unfortunately, there are very long wait lists for them. So as a temporary solution, doctors can use artificial plastic and metal hearts to keep patients alive while they wait for a donor, though they definitely don't work quite as well in the long term. So we've covered the macrocircuits, the microscopic cells, and the medical marvels that can fix them. But before we wrap up, I just want to leave you with this thought. Considering the immense pressure we discussed, the constant flow, and the perfect balance of cells, how many times has your own double circulatory system pumped while you watch this explainer? The biology inside you is truly extraordinary. Keep that in mind as you continue your revision, and I'll see you in the next one.